Welcome to the deep dive. When you think about poker, the immediate images are often, high stakes drama, maybe those smoky back rooms. And luck, always luck, it gets lumped in with games of pure chance. But talk to serious players, and they describe something else entirely, an intense strategic game, almost like a mental workout. So our mission today is to really dig into that difference. We're asking this for you, our listener. Does playing poker, studying it seriously, actually make you smarter? We're looking beyond just the cards. We want to understand the cognitive skills, the emotional stuff, even the social skills the game really demands.
Yeah, and what's fascinating right off the bat is the core challenge poker throws at you. It's very different from, say, chess. Chess has perfect information. You see everything. Poker, it's all about incomplete information. That's the key. You're forced to make these really critical high-stakes decisions with very little hard data to go on. And that specific environment, it puts your brain under, well, unique pressure. You need working memory, math skills, calculating probabilities on the fly strategy, and crucially, emotional intelligence. Social intelligence, too. It's like this multi-layered mental test happening all at once. Your brain's got to juggle all these things in real time.
That really does make it unique. You're not just solving a puzzle, you're solving a hidden puzzle that keeps changing, and other people are part of that puzzle. Okay, so let's unpack that first part, the hard skills. If we think of poker as like a mental gym, how does it turn basic math and strategy into these advanced analytical abilities, the kind we measure as intelligence?
Well, the main muscle you're flexing is decision-making under uncertainty. Every single move, whether you fold, call, or raise, it's like a mini risk assessment. You're evaluating potential outcomes, trying to predict what your opponents might do, and you often have just seconds to decide.
And the math isn't just, basic counting, right?
Hmm.
It seems like it goes way deeper into statistical thinking.
Yeah.
You mentioned probabilities and something called expected value, or EV. Can you quickly break down expected value for listeners who aren't maybe familiar with poker or betting terms?
Sure. Expected value, it's basically the average result of a decision if you could repeat it millions of times. If a play has positive EV, it means over the long haul, that decision makes you money. Even if you lose this specific hand right now, negative EV means it loses money long term. It fundamentally shifts your focus. It's not about this hand's outcome. It's about making the right decision consistently.
Okay, so it completely reframes winning and losing. It's about the quality of your process, not just the immediate result.
Exactly. And probably the most common way this plays out is calculating pot odds. Let's say the pot has $100 and someone bets $20. So it costs you $20 to call. You're getting 5-to-1 on your money. So you have to ask yourself instantly, is my chance of winning this hand better than 1 in 6? If you think it is, then calling is mathematically the correct play. It's a positive EV decision, even if you end up losing this time.
Wow. Okay, so that's not just simple math. It's constant real-time return on investment calculation under pressure. That ability seems incredibly transferable, like straight into business decisions or managing personal finances, calculating risk versus reward like that.
Definitely. And it goes beyond just the single hand. Poker forces you into longer term sort of meta-strategic thinking. Take bankroll management, for instance.
Right, another key term. Can you define that? What's bankroll management and how's it different from just, not betting the farm?
Bankroll management is a much more structured approach to your finances within the game. It's a strategy. You decide, okay, I have this much total capital dedicated to poker, and I will only risk a small percentage, say 1% or 2%, on any single game or session. It forces discipline, serious risk aversion, actually. It teaches you to protect your capital, so one bad run, one bit of bad luck doesn't wake you out completely.
That sounds like pure practical risk management. You could apply that mindset directly to career choices.
Okay.
Knowing when a risk is too big versus protecting what you have, or even personal finance. How aggressively you invest versus keeping cash for emergencies. It's the same principle.
Precisely. And consistently practicing these analytical skills in these high-pressure situations, it directly boosts your analytical thinking. Your cognitive flexibility improves. You're essentially speed training your brain to weigh possibilities and adapt your plans constantly.
Okay, that leads perfectly into the next bit. Calculating odds is one thing, but what about memory and pattern recognition, especially with everything happening so fast? I mean, isn't noticing betting patterns just like basic observation? How does that become a measurable cognitive gain? Is it really comparable to, say, learning physics?
That's a really good point because it's much more than just simple observation. It's about working memory under intense load. A good player has to track multiple streams of information simultaneously. Which cards have already been dealt in this hand, the betting sequence within this hand, and, this is crucial, the betting patterns and behaviors of every single opponent at the table. Not just now, but across potentially hundreds of previous hands you've played with them.
Whoa. So you're building these detailed psychological and statistical profiles for everyone in your head while also doing the math for your own hand.
Exactly right. Think about it. A player remembers that opponent A always overbets the river when they miss their draw, but only when the turn card was a diamond. That's not just remembering one thing. It's high-level adaptive pattern recognition. You're pulling together different data points, the situation, the history, the bet size, to predict what they'll do next and exploit that tendency.
That really is learning and adapting in real time. And I know there's research connecting this kind of demanding mental activity to neuroplasticity, right? The brain changing itself. Why does analyzing complex hands specifically help strengthen those neural connections?
It's because you're constantly running these complex what-if scenarios in your head under time pressure. You see your cards, the community cards, and instantly your brain simulates possibilities. What hands could my opponents have? How do those odds change if this card comes? What if they bet this amount? This constant high-speed simulation strengthens the parts of the brain used for logic, planning, problem solving, mostly the frontal lobe. It's not just memorizing facts, it's dynamic strategic modeling, a real workout.
Okay, that's definitely the ultimate cognitive workout. Let's shift gears, though, because poker isn't just math and logic. There are people involved. We have to talk about the emotional edge. Emotional intelligence, EQ.
Absolutely critical. You can be a math whiz, but if you can't handle the psychological side, you'll likely fail long term. Success demands, really, two core EQ skills. First, there's the external reading. This is the classic poker face idea, but it's deeper. It's not just about hiding your own feelings. It's about empathy, sharp observation, noticing tiny changes in breathing, betting speed, maybe a slight tremor when someone's bluffing, or overconfidence when they have a monster hand. You're constantly trying to gauge their emotional state.
So you're running the math and a psychological assessment at the same time. Wow. What about the internal part? Controlling your own emotions, that seems even harder.
It arguably is, and it might be the most valuable skill poker teaches that transfers directly to life. Self-control. This is all about avoiding what players call going on tilt.
Tilt. Okay, we mentioned it, but let's define that clearly. For someone learning, why is mastering tilt so important? What does it actually look like when someone's tilted?
Tilt is that destructive emotional spiral that happens after you take a bad beat or suffer a big loss due to bad luck. You get frustrated, angry, maybe feel cheated, and your rational brain just shuts off. You start playing recklessly, trying to win back losses quickly by making overly aggressive, mathematically bad, negative EV plays. A player on tilt ignores logic, forgets their bankroll rules, and just acts on impulse. Mastering self-control in poker means training yourself to recognize those feelings, stay calm, and stick to your logical strategy, no matter how frustrating the short-term results are.
That makes total sense. If you can manage that intense frustration when real money is flying around and still make logical choices, well, that skill applies everywhere. Handling disagreements at work, not panic selling stocks, dealing with stressful family stuff. And research does link emotional intelligence pretty closely with overall cognitive ability, right? So improving that self-control, that empathy, it indirectly boosts your broader intelligence too.
Precisely. And we shouldn't forget the social aspect either, especially in live games. Joining a poker club, playing regularly with others, it exposes you to so many different playing styles, forces you to adapt socially, maybe engage in a bit of table talk or negotiation. You learn to navigate different personalities. All of that builds interpersonal skills, strengthening that EQ muscle even more.
Okay, so we've covered the cognitive workout, the strategic depth, the emotional discipline. Now, let's bring it home for the listener. What does all this mean for you away from the poker table? Did these skills actually translate into, say, better grades or smarter career moves?
Oh, absolutely. The transfer is quite direct in many areas. We talked about probability and statistics. That skill helps you understand real-world odds better. Think about insurance costs, investment risks, even interpreting medical statistics. You just get better at handling uncertainty.
And the risk management piece you mentioned earlier, connecting bankroll management to personal finance discipline. That seems huge.
It really is. That ability to weigh potential gains against potential losses, making strategic choices when you don't have all the facts, that's fundamental to good decision-making in business and life. Poker players learn to think in probabilities and expected outcomes, not just wishful thinking. They quantify risk.
And finally, that emotional regulation. Recognizing you're getting tilted in a tense meeting or a personal argument and having the skill to step back, calm down, and re-engage logically, that's invaluable. It's like mindfulness under pressure.
And for listeners who really like structure, who want to maximize these gains, the sources offer some concrete advice. This isn't just about playing, it's about deliberate practice.
I like that framing. Poker is a tool for practical cognitive training. Okay, so you're starting out. First step, play mindfully. Focus on why you made a decision, analyze the situation, not just whether you won or lost the hand. Learning is the goal, not just winning the pot.
Second, and this is vital for actually improving, use hand history reviews. After you play, go back over the tough spots, the big decisions, analyze them away from the pressure. What was the optimal play? What did you miss? That process of critical self-reflection is where the real learning happens, where your brain actually adapts and improves its decision-making pathways.
And third, actively practice emotional control. If you feel yourself getting frustrated, angry, tilted, make it a rule to step away, take a 5-minute break, maybe even stop playing for the day. Interrupting that emotional impulse with a rational action is key.
And just quickly, let's bust a couple of myths. People still say poker is all luck. Well, yes, luck determines single hands, but skill, strategy, and that emotional control dictate success over the long run. Also, you don't need to gamble huge amounts of money to get the cognitive benefits. The brain workout comes from the complexity of the game, the analysis, not the size of the stakes.
So circling back to our main question, does poker improve intelligence? Based on everything we've discussed, the cognitive demands, the strategic thinking under uncertainty, the crucial emotional training, the answer seems to be a clear yes, provided, of course, you approach it strategically, as a tool for deliberate cognitive training.
Exactly. And these benefits aren't just for pros. Beginners who play mindfully, who study, can see real improvements relatively quickly, maybe after a few months of regular focused play, especially in memory, decision speed, and strategic thinking.
That's really powerful. So here's a final thought for you, the listener. If reviewing your poker hands, analyzing your decisions, and adjusting your strategy can boost cognitive flexibility, what other daily activities could you start tracking and reviewing? Maybe good decisions at work, how you manage your time, even your personal goals. Could you apply that same analytical review and adjust process this week to improve your performance and make more, positive EV choices in your life?